Morning, this is Bob Sitze, and full of years. I'm standing outside a typical entrance for what's called an assisted living facility. And before I go in there for my visit today, I wanted to reflect with you a little bit on something that has occurred to me, maybe you too, that is both bothersome and easily corrected. What's bothersome is that many of the people who live here are not well known, which is to say that when you come into a place like this, it's easy to look at these folks and just think to yourself, well, it's just a bunch of old people in there. Why? Because basically they're all the same. There's a bunch of wheelchairs and there's a lot of gray hair and there's people stooped over and they're not moving fast and they don't always answer with a great deal of joy or affect. So it would be easy to say they're all alike. They're all old. And if I don't know anything about them, gee, that's all they are, is old. Now think about that a little bit. If all of us want most dearly to be known as we know ourselves, what does it mean that at this stage in our life, all we can be thought of is as old? That the only adjective that applies to us is one that has 3 letters. It's not a 4-letter word, it's a 3-letter word, and it doesn't feel good. Why doesn't it feel good? There's more to us than old. So all that's happened before with all these wonderful people in here, there are amazing people in here. I can't tell you all about them because I think that would violate their privacy. But there's famous people in that place back there, and I know some of them. And it's a privilege to know some of them, not as OLD, but as people whose history is amazing, what I could learn from. Now what happens because we don't know the history of these old people is, as I said, we relegate them to the only thing that we can see, which is OLD, old. And so what's missing is this, the opportunity to learn from them, to know them well enough to appreciate them for what they've gone through, for the lessons that they could teach, for what they still have inside of them. Now, how does that happen? Well, first of all, it doesn't happen quickly. And these are folks with fewer years remaining in their life than we'd like to think, and so it might be obvious that we should just pluck out of them whatever stories they have and be amazed right there. That doesn't work. These folks took years to become who they are now, and who they are now is what they were then, and that's a long story. And we aren't going to pull it out in a moment, and we aren't going to, be happy about some small thing, because what's true of these folks is also deep. So how do you do that? You spend time with them, and you ask good questions. And you make those questions the progenitors of other questions. And when you think about who these people are, and when you ask those questions, I think it's pretty obvious that you ask yourself the same questions. What roles have you had in your life? What roles are ahead of you? Who has shaped you? What do you most want? What did you do in your life that changed the world in some? What are you doing right now that's changing the world? And so these good folks in here, people of good heart and sound mind, most of them, with the OLD plastered all over them, also are hiding, mostly out of humility, because we never ask and they don't want to brag. These old people have great portent for who we can become, who this world could be, who our descendants could be. Because when I'm older than I am now, and when you're older than you are now, wouldn't it be great for somebody to know you, not as though you are nothing now, gray and anonymous, but for who you were? And wouldn't it be wonderful to be known for all that God has done in your life? All the more reason to be thankful. All the more reason to keep going. I don't know. Makes sense to me. Maybe that's just because I'm old.